And hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 67 of JobSeeker Live Talk. Welcome, everybody, joining us live on LinkedIn, of course, YouTube. We had some people watching us on YouTube last week and Facebook, of course. You know that during our episodes, we're going to be sharing how job seekers can best position themselves in today's job market. And today, I got a special guest because, well, everybody's special that comes on the show, right? But this is an actual job seeker. So we'll have some insights and maybe help our guest is too. We're going to be providing various topics from resume tips, interviewing advice, and the real struggle that most job seekers are having in landing that new career today. And I'm going to let our guests introduce themselves. So, Mike, how are you today?
Doing great, David. My name is Mike Materian, and it's great to be here with you this afternoon. I am a IT operations leader, 20 years of transforming organizations from struggling to world class, leveraging the best in people, process, and technology to arrive at collaborative solutions. And some of my clients that have benefited from these transformations have included the Walt Disney Company, Texas Instruments, Quest Diagnostics, and CompuGen Services. My name is Mike Materian, and I'm glad to be here.
Mike, happy to have you here. Now, so normally I have maybe somebody in HR, maybe a recruiter, maybe it's a, business owner, right? Small business owner, maybe it's a CEO, VP, whomever. But very seldom do I have any actual job seekers. So I know that Mike, being a job seeker, because I can remember being a job seeker, I know that there's struggles. I know there's things that we learn. So we're going to pick your brain today, learn the things maybe to do, maybe not to do. And then we'll talk more about what you're looking for as well too. Hey, everybody, make sure if you have any questions, I want you to put them in the comments below. Here in a minute, we'll take a look to see who's commenting. And I'm over here on my phone looking over here to the left, and we have more than plenty of people watching us. So make sure to put in the comments where you're watching us from, what country, if you're here in the United States, maybe what city, and why you're here. And remember, any questions, we got a job seeker in Mike, got former job seeker. I think everybody's been a job seeker at one point in time and might be able to share some advice. So, Mike, let's get right down to it.
Sure.
What would be that ideal, maybe one or two different job titles that you're searching for?
Well, in my experiences, I have accomplished a great many things in the world of IT and project management. So the type of titles I would look for is anything with an IT director, IT senior manager, project manager, service delivery manager. I can drop into any number of different roles and be able to make the company a better place than it was when I first walked in.
Okay. Well, all right. So, because you're a subject matter expert at various things, right, Mike? So, think about, how does somebody craft maybe a resume? I mean, do you have 10 resumes and you're just wondering, like, oh my gosh, do I send this one out? Do I send this one out? Or can you maybe create one or two that speak that you can do multiple ones?
That's a great question, David. And one of the things that I've learned, and this is not my first time being a job seeker, but there's a saying that I learned early on is that if you're a patient, don't operate on yourself. So, my recommendation is instead of trying to create your own resume, find a professional to do it. And here's the reason why. Um, let's say a professional will charge you $300, and that's a decent rate out there for a resume. And with that, you'll get a resume, you'll get maybe a cover letter, you might get some extra things that the person will throw in. And you're going to say to yourself, well, that seems like a lot of money. Well, before you lost your job, how much money were you bringing in as far as an income? Let's say that you're bringing in $10,000 a month. For every month that you're on the job search, you are losing that $10,000. So time is of the essence. So now all of a sudden that $300 investment does not seem like very much when it will help you get back into the cash flow a lot sooner. And we look at the use of multiple resumes. Well, that's going to depend upon your background and what type of industry work you're going to be looking for. If let's say that you have a variety of skills that goes into two distinct industries, then definitely multiple resumes will work. If you're someone who's like me, who's well experienced, then instead of going to the traditional resume with the bullet points and say I did this at a company X, Y, and Z, you go to a more of a functional resume, which then becomes sort of like a movie trailer, and it highlights your skills. And then it's the skills that will go forward before you. And the right hiring manager and recruiter will try to plug you into a role that will best suit the skills that you already have.
Okay. So there you hear it, everybody. I hear it from clients all the time. Dave, I got, 10 different resumes because I applied for 10 different jobs. Well, maybe you can narrow. I mean, I do think that a resume can speak that you can do multiple roles, and Mike's probably happy with the one that somebody that created for him. So yes, if my roof leaks, I don't go up there myself. One, I don't like ladders too much, but one, two, listen, sure, it might be cheaper if I YouTube it, right? Get up on the
Right.
roof, YouTube it, get some supplies, but I'm not very confident in the results that I'm going to get, right? I'm going to hire a professional. It's going to cost me more, but the results are usually going to be better. So, yes.
Absolutely. And it's like the old saying is that a person who's his own lawyer has a fool for a client.
Hey, and I tell people all the time, if for some reason I needed a new resume today, for some reason, right? I would probably hire one of my resume friends because even though, we're too close to the subject matter to a
Yes.
lot of times write about ourselves.
And these are professionals. The right one, knows the ins and outs, knows what works, knows what doesn't work. This is what they do as part of their living.
Sure.
Many resume writers do other things to help job seekers, but regardless, they do this all the time. And again, it comes down to this: it's better to shell out $300 now and get into a job sooner than to keep losing, what you were making as a salary every single month as time goes on.
I totally agree. Let's see who we got hanging out today. We got LinkedIn user from Canada. Hello. All the way from Nigeria. Hello. All over the globe today. And good morning and fantastic Thursday. Uh-oh, it's already Thursday somewhere in the world here. So good morning to you from Madison, Wisconsin, and hello there. And Trisha from Silicon Valley. Well, hello. I know who you are, Trisha. Hello. Thank you for showing up today. And LinkedIn user from the UK. We'll share some more comments here in a second. Remember, if you have any questions, uh, let us know either for Mike or myself, or just you have some comments that you want to share. All right, Mike. So they say looking for a job is a full-time job, but I mean, we might find ourselves some time doing some other, being able to volunteer or do some other things, because if we're really focused, maybe we devote certain amount of time to doing this and this and this, whether it's looking for a job, sending applicants, networking, or whatever. But a lot of job seekers might have found the craft of creating maybe a revenue stream to maybe just pay some bills during the time. What has been your experience during this time of unemployment that maybe you've used something to maybe create a side hustle?
Well, one thing is for certain, David, this time. I'm way more prepared than I was last time. When the last time I was unemployed, I was laid off prior to the pandemic. And as soon as the pandemic hit, I was right in the middle of two very promising series of interviews. But because of the pandemic, the company had disengaged. Both opportunities did. And that was totally common back then because everybody just simply stopped hiring and the job market just went completely dead. Well, at that point, I realized that I have to do something different than what I call the spray and pray method, which is, you go out there and you look at job boards and you spray your resume everywhere and hope that one of them sticks. And that wasn't working, and that doesn't work now. But it was a friend of mine who had suggested, hey, well, really, you should get into networking. And that's what I did. I've met some people. First thing I did was I went through my contacts on LinkedIn and to let people know I was working. I was looking for work, and all of a sudden, a few people here say, "Hey, I don't have anything, but here, you might want to reach out to this person and that person." So just at a crude level, it started happening. And then I learned the power of LinkedIn, and then I started content creation. And the content creation on LinkedIn is what drove people to my profile. And it was through that and engaging in other people's posts and doing mine. And eventually, what happened was it's a matter of meeting the right person who facilitated an introduction with a recruiter, which then facilitated into a job offer. And really, when it comes down to it, volunteering is a great thing to do. You always in the job search want to keep busy. It is indeed a full-time, profession. But the important thing is, how do you spend that time? And most people spend 80% of their time applying and maybe a few percent volunteer, a few percent do something on LinkedIn. They got it backwards. You got to do it the other way around. You want to spend 80% of your time networking and then making connections, building contacts, building relationships. And that is what is going to open the opportunities for you. Then you don't have to go to the job boards. The jobs will seek you out. There's an interesting stat that I found that just totally blew my mind, which convinced me that this was the way to go. That over 80% of all of the jobs that are landed are done through networking, because somebody knew somebody and that door opened. And out of that, 70% of those job opportunities were not even posted on a job board. There is a hidden job market out there. And today's job seeker has got to be able to crack that hidden market in order to get noticed and to get some action. If you go to a job board, I mentioned spraying and praying earlier. If you apply for one position on a job board that looks like you're a good match, well, you and 400 other people are applying for that same job. Now you're 1 in 400. Out of those 400 people, the recruiter may screen out and pick maybe 5 to 10 people for a phone screening. Out of those 10 people, maybe half of them will get a first round interview. Then it's cut down to, as each successive round goes about, it's a process of elimination to where the final interview round comes, and it's you and somebody else. And then
So technical difficulties, but totally right. So hopefully we'll hopefully get Mike back, but I'm going to continue to go. So yes, so networking is the best strategy. So how do you do that? Let me share a really good strategy. Oh, wait a minute. I think I hear the doorbell. I think I hear the doorbell. Ding ding. I think Mike made it back. He had to
I made
take
it back.
a break.
I think it was Monster pulling the plug on me, or maybe ZipRecruiter. I don't know. But the point I'm making is that if you're lucky, you're 1 out of 4. You got a 1 in 400 chance in getting that position. Okay. Those are horrible odds.
Terrible.
They're terrible. Now, the way I got my last job was I did things backwards. Instead of applying online, what I did was if I saw something that was interesting, I went back through my network and say, okay, who do I know that is at that company? And reached out to them. Or if there was a second level connection, then it was, hey, can you make this introduction to this person? Because I found an opportunity. I think this will be a great match. And that's exactly what happened. I found an opportunity online and saw that the recruiter was a second level connection to someone I had just previously connected through my content posting. And what happened was that person said, yeah, it'll be great to introduce you. And they did. And it went from there. So instead of me being out of one of 400, I became one of 3. All of a sudden, those odds increased tremendously.
Yeah, that is, and second degree connections. Mike, I want to share a great stat that I made up.
Sure.
And it's not a stat, it's just simple math. Mike, if you had 5,000 connections and each of your connections had 5,000 connections, you would have 24,995 second degree connections. The
Yep.
second degree connection is super valuable because as you grow and expand your network, sometimes it isn't that I can help Mike or Mike can help me, but Mike's connected to somebody that can help me, or I'm connected to somebody that can help Mike. So building your network on LinkedIn will be one of the best things you can do for a career. If you're young, if you're in high school and you're in college and you take this mindset, you will in fact have millions and millions and millions of second degree connections in your lifetime. And the average person is not even going to have 5,000 connections on LinkedIn,
No.
nor 10 or 20. You max out at 30,000. There's not that many people when you think of the 850 million people that are on LinkedIn that are really maxed out. I'm getting close, but the average person is never going to get that. But when you take the approach of connecting more people on LinkedIn, big things happen. So let's say hello
Absolutely.
to some other people. Stephen, hey, Stephen, it's been a hot minute. Stephen and I met in person in 2019 before I left my day job, but I already had one foot out the door. Stephen, nice seeing you here today. Looks like you changed your LinkedIn profile photo. In fact, I know you did. So drop me a DM. We need to chat. Uh, all the way, Ethel, all the way from Zambia and Bangladesh. We're all over the place. And hello, hello, hello.
Oh, I know Yolanda. Hi, Yolanda.
Oh, everybody knows Yolanda.
And that is, again, another example of the power of LinkedIn.
Yes, everybody knows. Everybody knows. Hello, LinkedIn user from Durham, North Carolina. Hello, Doreen. Um, let's see here. Just looking at some of this. He's back. Yes, he just took a mini break, had to take a water break or whatever. So, and hello to my friend. And yeah, hey, you need to be more active on LinkedIn so I can see you. But DM me and let's set up time to chat. So that's the thing. When you embrace LinkedIn, you really can make genuine connections. Now, Mike, you and I might not ever meet in person, but if you're going to be in my area or I know I'm going to be in yours, like I've done several times this year. I go, okay, I'm going to be in this state, in this city. Who do I know that I could, that I really want to just have a cup of coffee with, right? And really nurture and build upon the relationship that we've already made on LinkedIn. And that's where it becomes when maybe you don't need a new job today, but doing what Mike is doing. Mike's built a nice little network on LinkedIn, and now he can see those first and second degree connections. And you never know, and like you said, Mike, yes, we generally find out jobs from somebody else. Like I know back in, what was it? Back in early 2017, I was working for a different company. A previous peer of mine for a company that I worked with called me up and said, "Hey, you ready to come back?" and facilitated that. So the job had not even really been posted yet. So you talk about that hidden job market, right? But he knew it was going to come available, messaged me. I didn't really even have to apply. I met with my former boss. Boom, boom, boom. There you go. So again, our network, your network will eventually help you and you can help it. So, all right.
Yes.
So we talked about maybe, doing a little side hustle or whatever. So what have what could job seekers, how do job seekers, hey, I got to make a living, Mike. I got to make some money while I'm job seeking. What are some things or how do we change our mindset that we only have to have that job? We work at that company 9 to 5. How do we change our mindset where we might be able to leverage LinkedIn to make a couple extra bucks based on what we know?
Well, and that's the important thing is that every person is their own subject matter expert in a certain area. And people want to hire experts. And if you can display through your accomplishments over the years, if you can, if you have a passion for something and it lines up with that, then the only thing that limits you is your own imagination. One of the things in my case was that having been involved in IT consulting for over 20 years, 17 of those in positions of leadership, that I've learned various aspects of the business and to where the point where I could walk into an organization or I could sit down with a person. And as I say on my profile, if your company has a headache, I'm your aspirin. And with that, you can begin to build a side hustle, and from that, still, of course, pursue your your goal for a regular job, and then eventually, what will happen is you'll find that you'll start making more at your side hustle than you will at your regular job, and then you'll go away. But the first thing you had to do is build a foundation, is what I did, and that started 2 years ago, and that was through my content creation. Over the 2 years, I've had over 7 million people view my content.
Wow.
I'm just a guy off the street. I'm not a Gary V. I'm not an influencer of that high caliber that you see, scrolling across your news feed. I'm an average guy, but talking about things that people could relate to. And then over time, as more people follow you, you put your LinkedIn into content creator mode. Then you start targeting people to follow you as opposed to connections. And we're talking about second degree connections earlier. It's easier for people to follow someone than want to connect to them. So getting followers is easier than getting connections. You don't necessarily need connections, although they're very good to have. The connections should be the people who are the closest to you that you interact with all the time. But the followers who will follow your content, uh, they like what you do. They'll share it with other people. And the next thing you know, when you start getting profile views, because that's what it's all about, you'll start seeing that the people who are viewing your profile are second and third level and beyond. And when you start seeing that, you know you're doing something right. That means that your reach is going beyond your inner circle and is going out to the world. When I post a piece of content, for example, I know within a matter of a couple of hours whether that post is going to go viral or not. And I say a couple hours to be certain. It's just that if I start seeing people viewing it from certain parts of the world, I know, okay, this is going to be a good one. If my post is limited to where most of the views are happening to be where I live, then I know, okay, this one maybe not so good, but they're all good because people are seeing it and you're being seen, and that's what's really important. The hardest step to content creation is starting. Once you have decided to start, it becomes easier. You're going to make mistakes. I always said that I learned by trial and error, mostly error. And over time, you'll get better. LinkedIn rewards consistency, and then doors will start to open up from places you will not believe. And sometimes you get people following you, not just from your own content, but let's say, for example, and David here's a great example when he advertised this particular show today, this episode, and I went out there and engaged in his post. Well, all of a sudden, people from his post started checking out who I was, not necessarily because of I'm the guest, but because of what I said in the post.
Sure.
And that works across the board. So part of it is you're posting your content. The other part of it is you're engaging in your content. And what you want to target, and even there is target in the engagement, you want to go after the thought leaders that are in your industry, people who are influencers, like David, for example. You get noticed, and people want to know, hey, who is this guy? Who is this gal? Well, I don't know. Let's go check them out. And then your LinkedIn profile becomes your commercial. That's what it's all about. Drawing people to view your profile. And when you start getting profile views, things start to click.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, in early 2019, I decided that I was going to post a couple times a week, and then it became consistently once a day, and then that became consistently twice a day, and then it jumped up to about 4 times a day what I post now. Now, again, people say, well, oh my gosh, how do you, develop that much content? Well, maybe I create it all, or maybe I repurpose some, meaning I posted it a month ago, I kind of changed some stuff up or whatever. So, but after time, everything becomes easier, just like your job, just like you were saying, you're saying you make mistakes and you learn from them. You maybe pass on those mistakes to others so they can learn from them. That's what I did initially on LinkedIn. Is
Sure.
anytime I learned something new, that was easy. Or I learned something not to do, I shared it with the community. And then I kept doing that. And then people liked seeing my
Yeah.
content.
And one of the things, the easiest way, people always ask, well, what do I post about? Okay, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a project manager. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what are the top 5 challenges that a project manager faces right now? Well, I think you think, go out on Google, do a Google search, top 5 project manager challenges, and Google will spit results at you. Okay, now you know it's trending. Pick one, write about it, present the problem, and demonstrate to your audience how you fix that problem. Because if you're experienced what you do, you've come across the problems and you've fixed them, as part of your career. So that's what you do: is you call out a problem, you demonstrate how you solve that problem, and at the end you have a call to action. Okay, so now this person invested 2 minutes to read your post. What do you want them to do? Well, that's where your call to action is going to be. Do you want them to connect with you? Do you want them to refer you to somebody? Do you want to let them know, hey, if you or anybody is looking for a great project manager, let's get connected? The call to action. Or if you're a content creator, it's very simple. Go to the profile, follow, and ring the bell, and to get more
Ring the bell.
content. So that call to action is what you want. That's how you hook them, and then they go to your profile. Then your about section tells your story, and then that becomes your commercial. That is prime real estate, and then that is where people want to get to know the real you. And then when those people are hiring managers, recruiters, startup companies looking for somebody to fill a particular need for them. Again, the old way is spray and pray, hope that you're 1 out of 400,
Sure.
or you do what I just described, then you become one of one.
I totally agree. Now we do have a question.
Sure.
Um, all right. Well, it's not really a question and probably something I can answer, but all right. This young lady is an SEO content writer. She says she should I'm going to put quotes in between those. Should be able to craft my own resume, but I have not landed a proper job yet. I just feel skeptical about paying someone else to write a CV for a writer like me. Now, you said writer. So a writer and somebody that writes resumes, two different things. Because for me, I'm just going to take my, there's plenty of resume writers, but I'm going to take my approach. My approach to writing a resume is I'm a detective.
Yep.
What do I need to see? What do I don't see? Okay. Then I craft some questions to my clients. I find out the jobs that they're going to be applying for because it's more than telling your story. Do you have enough of the hard and soft skills on your resume to match up to the job descriptions? If you can do several things, does your resume again say that you can do several things? So just because just because I am a plumber, maybe doesn't mean that I specialize in a certain type of maybe like high rise or installing plumbing at a hospital. Installing, again, we all have specialties. So I might be a good, you could say resume writer, but writing a resume is less than being able to tell a story, and there's some art to it. There's
There
some art to
certainly
it
is.
because nobody's going to read your entire resume. Nobody ever is. You
You got
may,
six
and you may,
seconds. Six
yeah.
seconds.
So there's a lot of strategy involved. So that's where the writing piece and the resume piece, just because you're a great writer doesn't mean, yeah, I'll take the opposite.
Yeah.
Just because you're a great resume writer doesn't, I can't, if I need to write an article, like, a really long article or blog, guess what? I have somebody help me. Why? Because again, the resume writer, it should be more like resume coach, resume detective, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Because again, there's a craft, just like there's a craft to writing. If I need some help, that's I'm gonna hire this young lady to help me.
Well,
So
David, I just got to jump in here on this. I like it. I liken it to a golfer. You don't use the same club on every shot. You don't use you don't use a wood to putt, and you don't putt, and you don't drive with a putter. And they're different, as you mentioned. There are different skills. Here's the other thing too: is that if you're writing your own resume, you're gonna experience tunnel vision, and and you're going to think what you just put on paper is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but when it actually goes out there, it doesn't get seen. And I mentioned this either. You got 6 seconds. That piece of paper has 6 seconds to catch somebody's attention. You may be great at writing in a certain style, but a trained resume writer puts it in a way that it can be spotted and embraced within 6 seconds. So there's a whole technique to it. The other thing too about this, you know, always, always, always when you hire a professional, ask people who have used professionals. Who do they
sure.
recommend? Get 2 or 3 people, interview them, ask them questions like, okay, tell me some of your successes. How do you present me to a hiring manager on a piece of paper? How do you view a resume? What do you think a resume is going to do? You ask all these questions. Ask them about their success stories. Have them provide references if you want to go. If you want to go that far, then eventually, what you'll do is you'll pick somebody who is going to be someone that you're going to be happy with, and you're going to go forward with them. But you just don't hire anybody out of the blind. You always interview. You always ask for references. You have them give you a sample, see if you like it. Ask questions. Even with the resume writer that I'm working with right now, I've been in great conversations because I'm teaching them about me, but they're also teaching me about how this document that they're preparing that I paid money for is going to work. And that's a
Yes,
great relationship to have.
I agree, Mike. And you know what? The recommendations section is a great place for somebody before you're deciding like who to call.
Yeah.
To to narrow it down. The recommendation section is a great place to see who they've helped and how they've helped them. So if they've been doing this for a while, they should have a good number of recommendations.
Exactly.
All right, Mike. How has well, let me. I'm gonna stop there. All right, I'm gonna come up with a different one.
Okay.
If if you were giving advice to a job seeker,
Yes.
and what would you tell them is like the one best strategy that they have to do? They're currently unemployed. What is the one best strategy that they really need to do to get some, traction?
Okay. Before you could take any kind of action, you have to have the right mindset and go into it with an understanding that this is going to be an endurance race and not a sprint. And your job, and it becomes your job, it's a full-time occupation. Your job is to get your next paycheck. Now, whatever happened to put you in that position to where you're looking right now, take a few days to go through the grieving process,
Mhm.
but have a drop dead date that, okay, as of Tuesday, October 9th or whatever the day is, this is the day that I stop grieving, and it's the day that I get out there and work my butt off. Get it out of your system. And then also, the other thing too is having the right mindset. This being that as an endurance, not a sprint. And also, do not take things personally. I've seen far too many people on LinkedIn posts where that they're job seekers and they're posting is the desperation mindset. It smells. It comes through on what they do on their profile. It comes through what they post. You've got to have the right winning mindset. Companies are looking for problem solvers, not problem makers. Demonstrate how you make a company better. Answer that question in that person's mind of why should they hire you? And that answer better not be because I'm a hard worker. Well, guess what? The last person I fired was a hard worker. Problem was they did everything wrong. So, think of it this way. You have to sell yourself. You are now a salesperson. Oh, but I'm not a salesperson. Yes, you are. And the sooner you realize that you're a salesperson, the better off you're going to be and closer you're going to be to getting that next job. And the mindset is got to be positive. The last time I was going through a job search, I'll tell you about the 3 C's that I had: cancer, COVID, and catastrophic house fire. Within a 3-month succession, I went through each of them. The cancer was a result of doctor's exam that led to to a specialist that found, okay, I got a bladder tumor. Oh, that's great. So let's get surgery scheduled. Okay, surgery gets scheduled. I get COVID. Surgery gets performed. Well, eventually I overcome COVID. I have the procedure. Procedure was very successful. We got the news. I got the news from the doctor that said, okay, it's completely gone. It was non-invasive, low intensity, low grade tumor that you had on your bladder. It is gone. And then 3 days later, house gets struck by lightning.
Oh no.
Yeah, lightning hit a metal post on the roof, a vent, traveled down in the attic, right to where the wires were, fried the wires for a lot of the house. And if the fire department showed up 5 minutes later than they did, I would have lost everything. Now, all of this happened while I was looking for work, and I'd been out of work almost 2 years at that point because of COVID. Do you know what people noticed about me on LinkedIn during that time? They
What's that?
didn't. They didn't notice a thing because I kept my content positive, my interactions positive. I was upbeat, and I know this. Okay, if I could survive these things, I know I'm going to land something. And it was right then and there. that eventually doors started opening because I didn't let the little things bother me. You're going to go through rejection. Rejection is part of a part of the process. You're going to get ghosted. People complain about being ghosted. So what? You know what? If you got ghosted by somebody, you're better off without them. You actually dodged a bullet. Look at it that way. Every no gets you closer to a yes. So everything that I've talked about as far as strategy is mindset. Once you have that winning mindset, you know, and realizing that this is an endurance race and not a sprint, then the other things that you're going to do are going to be influenced by that mindset. And then you're going to be seen as a go-getter, a hustler, a person who other people would want to be attracted to. And when that happens, and they see that you're a problem solver and not a problem maker, all of a sudden you're going to start getting contacts about opportunities. Again, you don't have to go looking for them. They will come to you. You just got to be patient.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you said that don't let little things bother you. Well, I think those three C's were pretty major.
They were.
But again, you couldn't control either one of those, right?
Yeah.
So you can have time to go, woe is me, but then but then you still have a plenty. You have tomorrow, the next day, next year, decades from now that you have to really. So
I
you still need to focus
True.
about today.
I worked at Disney I was with Disney for 13 years as an employee and also as a consultant with ACS. And I had the opportunity one time to go back, behind the scenes at Disneyland Resort. And Disneyland and the Disney mentality about these things is very interesting. They have what is known as offstage and onstage. So when I was at the resort and we were off stage, we were behind, in the area where people can't see,
Sure.
where all the cast members are gathering themselves and moving about, and they can move about the park without being seen. And one in Florida, Walt Disney World, they actually have tunnels for this, but they didn't in Anaheim. But at each point of entry into the park, where there was a door or whatever, there was a full length mirror. And the person would walk up to that mirror before they would step out into being on stage. They would check their outfit, they would check their uniform. And then the last thing he did was he put a smile on their face and then they went out. And the moment that they crossed over that door, they went from being off stage to being on stage. And now when you're on stage, you're performing a role. You're in a role. You're acting and you're performing. And when you're on LinkedIn, when you're in an interview, when you're in a conversation, networking conversation, you're performing. Your role is job seeker. And then you go about and you do your role, and whatever happens out there, you don't take it personally because whatever happens is happening to your character. And then when you turn around, you walk off and go backstage again, then you can fall apart because no one's watching. But you leave your troubles backstage. You perform on stage, never let them see a frown, always let them see a smile, no matter how bad the circumstances are, because that's what attracts people, positivity.
No, I totally agree. And just being positive when you get backstage, maybe you're not frowning, right?
Right.
Because again, when we have to show up and put on a smile, well, that's infectious, and that creates a lot of success in repeating that. And no, thank you for coming. We hope that if you need some advice or tips on your resume, there's plenty of people out there. I can always provide some free tips and advice. So if you want to send it to me, I'm more than happy to look for free just to see. Maybe it's not as bad as you think it is, and maybe it's not the resume that's not getting. But I'm more than happy to take a look at that. So, all right. So remind everybody the different positions, the skills, and the experience that you have, and then share us, what's the best way for somebody to get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, my experience are in leadership, mainly IT, but I'm great at leading organizations. Um, I'm also a project manager. I have my PMP certification. I'm also an expert when it comes to process improvement. I am ITIL certified. I'm also an expert when it comes to quality control. I have my Six Sigma green belt, and I'm also very good at sales in promoting organizations, leading people. I'm also a mentor. I have taken people who were technical experts, technical leads, and mentored them into positions of management. And you're a good leader when you're about to be promoted and you already have your replacement ready to go because you mentored them into that position. I've done that many times. So you
And
put
that
me in.
feels good too.
It feels great because not only is it a special moment for you because you accomplished something, but more important, you changed that person's life
Oh, yes.
for the better. And to get in contact with me, I'm on LinkedIn, Mike Meterian, Mehterin. Let's get connected. Please, if you send a connection request, say that you saw me on David's show and go to my profile, follow, hit the bell to get more content. And I'll be glad, to engage with anybody in that regards. Now, as
Okay.
far as what kind of a job do I want, I'm a servant. So I look at it as serving people. I serve companies and making their organizations better, making them run better, faster, cheaper. And I could do that as a senior manager, as a director, as a service delivery manager, and even as a project manager, I can do those things. So drop me into any organization. I'll find the problems before they surface, and then we'll get them fixed, which is why I say if your company has a headache, I'm the aspirin.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. I won't steal that, but I like it. I might quote you at times, but
Please.
I like
I
that.
won't even
So
charge you for it, because
well,
we're friends here, David. So just, hey, just quote me, go right ahead. I won't even charge you royalties. How's that?
the first one's free. How about that?
Okay. That fair enough. Okay. I'll
All
gladly
right,
take your
everybody.
money.
All right, Mike. Hey, thank you for being on the show. Everybody, make sure to connect with Mike and listen. If Mike's too busy trying to accept all these connection requests that he's going to get after the show, at least follow him. And when you follow somebody, even if you're not connected to them, even if you're not connected to them, the little bell will show up under the right portion of their banner. You click on that, and you will see that person's content every time that they post in your notification. So it's a great way. Maybe you're following some influencers that have maxed out on connections, right? And they're never going to accept it because they can't. They're maxed out. And they got millions of followers, then that's easy. Follow them,
Yep.
hit that bell, you'll see that content, and then you can engage with their content within a timely manner. So Mike, thank you for being on the show today. Let's see if we can get you some traction and maybe landing that new career.
Well, David, thank you again for the opportunity. I had a great time chatting with you. And again, well, if you ever need the perspective of a experienced job seeker, well, I'll be glad to step in and to be your resource.
All right. Hey, thank you, Mike, and have a terrific rest of your day. Okay.
Oh dear.
All right, everybody. I got one thing I want to share. Hey, next week I'm gonna go live on a different day, and I'm gonna partner with somebody. So let me share my screen. So next Tuesday at a special time of 8:30 a.m. Pacific, my friend Rhonda Schur and I are gonna go live and we're gonna roast your profile. What does that mean? Well, I'll put a link. I'll put a link in the show notes. Okay. You can sign up, go to my LinkedIn profile at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time on the 11th, next Tuesday. And if you want your profile roasted, that's easy. Now, when I say roasted, we will gently roast your profile. What we'll do is we'll pull, you don't need to do anything. You just need to comment and say you want your profile roasted. We'll put your profile for the world to see, right? Like I'm sharing my screen now. And we're going to give you some high level tips. Obviously, we're not going to pick apart your entire profile because we're going to try to roast as many profiles as we can. But this is going to give you an opportunity to learn from a true LinkedIn expert in my friend Rhonda, she just had a couple Sundays ago, had a post that got over 2 million views. I think if I'm not mistaken, about 1,500 shares of this post. If I'm not mistaken, it probably is more than that now. But Rhonda and I are going to combine our knowledge of LinkedIn, our expertise on LinkedIn. And what we're going to do is we're going to share, hey, you can add this, you can add this. Hey, change that to that. Hey, that is perfect. So if you want your LinkedIn profile roasted, I'll put a link so that you can attend. And really, the easiest thing to do is show up on my LinkedIn profile at 8:30 a.m. Pacific next Tuesday. We're going to have fun. I've done this with Rhonda and I have a mutual friend, Joe Applebaum, and Joe and I have done this a couple times. Had so much fun. I'm going to bring Rhonda on board, and you know what? Rhonda and I might make this a occasion where we do this every few weeks, and this is fun because we get to help so many people really improve their profile. And like Mike had said, when you go all in on LinkedIn and you understand the platform more, you understand that it's not this boring business platform that a lot of people think that it is. And improving your LinkedIn profile is like your own free personal branding website. And Rhonda and I are going to share some practices so you can have a kick butt LinkedIn profile. All right, I'll stop sharing, everybody. Hey, thank you. See you next Tuesday, special time, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Make sure to sign up for that. And as always, I hope you make the rest of this week your best week ever. Bye for now, everybody.